and gentlemen, with this, it is now time to move on to the fireside chat. Well, fireside chat on customer experience and emerging technologies in BFSI. One of the most awaited sessions today. Well, I'm elated to welcome on screen and stage Vikram K, Senior Director, Industry Verticals, Hewlett Packard Enterprise DR. At HPE, Vikram drives the strategy and sales of server storage and DC networking for all the industry verticals, FSI, telecom, MDI, and public sector. He's somebody who's held strategic leadership positions in deploying the IPs and developing human capital. We're also joined by Amol V. Pai, the CTO of SBI, having joined SBI in 2019 as the Chief Technology Officer. Amol's key responsibilities include leading the growth of the YONO application and keeping it future ready, leading the adoption of the cloud and cloud-native technologies, enhancing the private cloud of the bank, and managing the bank's data centers and networks. This entire conversation and the fireside chat is going to be moderated by Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, Chairman 5F World and Director Central Board, SBI. Dr. Ganesh is an alumnus of BIT, Mesra, NITI, IIT Bombay, and the Harvard Business School. He's the author of 4 McGraw-Hill books on business process reengineering and knowledge management, and 6 other publications on the IT industry, and has inspired leadership of Gen Y. Thank you so much to our eminent guests for joining us. With this, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bhavna. And let's get started with the panel. And always a pleasure to talk about what is today the most relevant topic of our times, which is the whole customer experience. Because as most of you in this audience would know, in this big world of digital, customer journeys are being fashioned and refashioned all the time. So it's good to have 2 experts to really talk about it. I mean, we have Vikram from HP to bring in the technology perspective of what kind of exciting new technologies are really emerging on the landscape. And of course, Amol, who's a colleague of mine in the State Bank of India, GITC, Global IT Center. And Amol, of course, can tell us about the amazing stuff that's happening in State Bank of India to really make 400 million customers extremely happy. So Vikram, let's start with you. Any thoughts? Sure. What's happening? What is trending? And what should everybody be thinking about when you talk about technologies for customers?
Sure. So I guess, the last year and a half has been a little different from the other years that we've all been in this industry together in. While as it might sound as cliched as digital transformation, I guess certainly people like, Amol's organization, SBI, or any bank for the matter, or any telecom organization or anybody else, have all kind of prioritized this transformative aspect more than anything else. And the transformative aspect comes from the fact that they want to keep a lot more connectedness and a closeness with the customer for varying reasons. The data, the actual feel for the customer, so on and so forth. And broadly, we see this kind of branch out and being this element of trying to be a little more programmable as an enterprise, as well as the enterprise itself becoming a lot more autonomous in the sense that people are using all the data that they accumulated over years to see how they can have suggestions comes from the systems themselves and the machines themselves. So if you want to jargonize it a bit, the AI, ML, and all of them have taken precedence. And out of the fact that there is a connectedness to the customer, a lot of these microservices have come into play. I'm sure SBI has its own long list, being one perhaps from a structure perspective. And I guess some of these large enterprises have the sudden need to kind of being able to be very make themselves more interesting to all age groups. For example, banking can be banking, but the same bank needs to be very appealing to, so to say, to the largest demographic group in India now, which is the less than 35, less than 30-year-old age group, so on and so forth. So we see a lot of technologies in play, and all of them seem to be at the edge as I think the world goes on to become a lot more hybrid, in the sense that there is no premise for this data or the application or the microservice or the container platform to stay. And I went back a while in time, and I was wondering when I met you the first time, that was on the advent of what we then used to call client server. But these days, are long gone from those days of being client server. Everything is at the edge. There is no apps and data. There is no data center as a premise where you can say this is my server or this is that application server, so on and so forth. So we've come a long way in time, and HP is making those forays, those acquisitions, and those mergers in play to kind of get set for that future, which will prevail. Yeah.
Sure. No, I think that's great. And I'll come back and we'll do some more exploration around technologies. But let me move to you, Amol, because clearly you are in the cockpit of one of the largest aircraft flying, because I mean, you and I were in a NASSCOM call, I remember 3 days ago, where you very interestingly said that you are dealing with the third largest nation in the world, because after China and India, State Bank of India with 400 million customers is larger than America. So it's quite a perspective that you gave that day. And I think Vikram brought in another perspective saying that now you're dealing with Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, completely digital natives, etc. So what's the thinking around customer, Amol? I mean, in terms of how do you think of technology when you put on a customer lens and saying there are so many new customers, new opportunities? How do you as CTO of State Bank look at the customer perspective?
Thank you, sir, for this invite for joining this session. So very quickly, sir, I will also touch upon what happened in the last 1.5 years. The last 1 year or 1.5 years has helped us accelerate our digital adoption. So it is no longer a case of a technologist going and asking for funding for doing something new in technology. Now there is a reverse pressure wherein the management keeps throwing jargons at us and says that why are you not doing containers? Why are you not doing microservices? So it is becoming a problem of plenty where we have to go back and tell the management, no, hang on, you know what, I don't really need to do this because what we have in place is good enough. So there is a reverse pressure that's coming. So jargons which we had to go as technologists and present it to the management, there's a reverse flow coming in right now. And though the terms and the so-called keywords in technology have remained the same, the entire AI, ML, containerization, hybrid, edge, all these words have remained the same. But now it has come to a point where practical implementation has started to matter a lot. So it is no longer a tick in the box, but how effectively are we using AI and ML? Because to see to it that the entire Gen X, Y, Z get to use it properly. So for the Gen Z, it is okay for me to give them an app and they will start using it. But if I have to go 2 generations back, like even in my own house, my parents are not comfortable using a mobile app. They are still happy to interact with a person across the counter and get things done. So it requires a level of coaxing. And if any of the step fails in between, they immediately withdraw from that process. So it has become even more important for us right now to create a really, really friction-free process, a process which does not fail, a process which is available at all points in time, just because the adoption will keep going down if there is a failure or a friction at any given point in time. So now it has come down to a time where we have to see to it that all these brand new technologies are really working and it is serving the end purpose. So according to me, this is the focus right now. I mean, the buzzwords can be kept aside. Now it is about applying all these buzzwords.
But Amol, you made some very interesting points. And just to come to your point on everybody seems to know a little bit about technology and digital. So in a sense, everybody is dangerous because limited understanding and want to say, okay, why can't we do open APIs? Why can't we do microservices, et cetera, et cetera. But if you really put it all together, and I just finished the publication of our own book on digital success, and we're finding that it's a moving target because as all of us know, digital, whether it's in banking, financial services, or any other sector for that matter, has moved from being a very cost reduction kind of model, which was the early days of Google and Facebook and everybody else, to very much an experience model, like what Netflix is doing or what Apple is doing, and soon moving to a platform model. And if you look at all the big platforms, whether we call it that or not, even the Oyo Rooms and Uber and everything else are all digital platforms that are enabling us to connect. So in that context, Amol, I just want to ask you, how familiar are customers with the use of these kind of technologies? In fact, what's been your own experience with YONO? I mean, I know that State Bank, I mean, my mother-in-law is 88 years old, has been a diehard State Bank loyalist, but I don't see her using YONO. So how do you cater to all audiences and make sure that people find these new platforms easy to use? I mean, what's the direction of the bank from that point of view?
So, sir, when we launched Yono a few couple of years back, at that point in time, it was to establish a digital footprint in the market. So, as to say that this is a one-stop app to serve your banking, your lifestyle. It is not even banking lifestyle. So, Yono covers your banking requirements, your lifestyle requirements in terms of a marketplace, and it also covers your other financial needs like your demat account, insurance, your credit card, so on and so forth. So that is how it was launched. And obviously the adoption was in the Gen Z category, where people who were familiar using the internet banking space, they immediately adopted to the entire process of shifting over to Yono. So that transition was pretty smooth. People, that segment of customers were pretty much happy in terms of using the mobile, and they adopted Yono. Now what we are doing, sir, is that based on all the feedback that we have received till now in terms of what are the friction points, which journey gets used a lot, the business units have also gone to the branches, and where Yono has been given in an assisted mode. There we have also collected feedback to understand what is it that bothers a person in a particular journey, so that I mean the customer may be using 2 or 3 journeys a lot very frequently. So make it as friction free as possible. Like in the case of Yono Cash, we had assisted journeys where people would stand outside branches at ATM. If they are coming to withdraw cash, we'll tell them this option is available in Yono, where you don't require your own debit card to withdraw money. Please use Yono Cash, which doesn't require a debit card. You just have to remember 2 pins which you create at that point in time, and you get the money out. So this adoption is what we are trying to promote slowly and steadily. So now we are looking at a separate set of customers who are on the edge and who are only looking at convenience, and we are now trying to bring them on board to the Yono platform.
No, that's amazing, and I think that's a good way of understanding it from a perspective of customer. So Vikram, question to you, because I mean, my own reading of technologies says that we're probably close to now 15, 16 disruptive technologies. And if you go beyond the initial wave of SMAC, social, mobility, analytics, and cloud, then we move to IoT, we move to robotic process automation. But ultimately, what's benefiting the customer is, I think, what one of you said earlier, which is how do you take a bunch of data, and I think you said that, Vikram, and apply AI, ML, and make it much more predictive and prescriptive. So it really enables the customer to really find themselves engaged in a process. I mean, what probably Amazon did extremely well in the other sector. So in that context, I mean, if you take all the new array of technologies, quantum and 5G, and of course, mixed reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, what do you think is something that you're seeing that is really hooking on more customers and engaging the current customer base to be have much more brand affinity, if you will? Any thoughts on what technologies?
Firstly, I was quite impressed by what SBI has achieved, right? So the fact that they're such a large bank, and there was a former DMD who's now elsewhere, who used to say SBI is a part of India, India is a part of SBI. With that kind of a size and the kind of number of branches, maybe 25,000, 30,000 branches or more, just imagine the agility that they bring to the table when they have all of these kind of kind of apps. It even covers farmers, so on and so forth, and it has an e-commerce platform, etc. And the reason I said all of this is because of the magnitude of data that they would handle. And if you were to ask us, I guess in the hybrid world, I guess the one thing that you might have to kind of consciously reassure yourself is the completeness of your data handling capability, and hence the security with which you handle this data. So so hence what would one need to do? I think they would have to tread and depend on a whole lot of advisory and professional services. And of course, there are plenty of offerings in the market, and everybody obviously offers a right fit in their own imagination. But we've definitely embarked on a whole lot of journeys with a whole lot of banks to kind of be reassured enough and wanting to say that some of it has worked very well. But to your question, and the answer, maybe a two-line answer would be that in this highly distributed, data-centric and hybrid world, I guess the two things to kind of go after and look for is our own abilities to handle data, and in varying forms, right? There isn't one form of data these days, and of course the security that we provide to how we kind of operationalize the data, and hence a whole lot of automation and all of that goes into play. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to give a short reply primarily to kind of hear more of what perhaps SBI does. We involved in a lot of the journeys together. Yeah.
No, thank you, Vikram, because I mean, as a member of the SBI board, it's always gratifying to, because in such a large bank, it's easy to get criticism. But I think the amount of work that's happening, both in technology and business processes, is quite amazing in State Bank of India. So Amol, one thought on, because there was a question that with all this customer-facing applications and making it as easy as possible for customers to get in themselves, as you rightly said, throw the Gen Z an app and they're already up and running. So do you worry about cybersecurity? I mean, today with so much happening, what are you looking at in terms of your CISO of organization, as well as, of course, the bank itself, in terms of securing it at the same time, not coming in the way of the customer?
So, sir, we follow the standard protocols for enabling any kind of application for a customer. Those processes are very much in place. So there is no deviation per se that is ever getting taken. So convenience will not come at a cost of security. I think that part has sunk into the organization very well. I mean, we speak from the lowest possible denomination all the way to the top. Security is paramount. Everyone knows that security cannot be compromised upon even one bit. But at the same point in time, it is not just about security in the sense what hackers think about and try to breach the system. The other area that we continuously focus upon is the functional aspect of the product itself. Given that there are many digital footprints and digital interfaces available to the customer, it means there are more and more gates available for customers to interact with the bank, which means we have to be very sure that what security or what kind of checks are put at gate 1, it has to be the same at gate 2, gate 3, gate 4, so on and so forth. And at no point in time there can be a dilution at any of this interface. So I have got a mobile internet banking. I have got a YONO Lite application. I have got YONO as an application, and then there are different applications available for customers in terms of the business requirements. So it's pretty much important that it behaves consistently across channels, and any change which is done at one particular channel does not lessen the security features of the others. It's a learning process. So once we realize that something has come through as a feedback, we see to it that the entire process is also strengthened, so that going ahead we don't fall into the same trap all over. So security is more also from a cyber security perspective as well as from the functional security perspective. So these are the two aspects which are getting taken care of on a continuous basis.
You know, that's very interesting. Any thoughts on that, Vikram? I mean, anything that you or HP can this?
Yeah, so certainly, I mean, I think the big need of the hour, given the size of a country, the number of customers we all, each bank has, etc., is there's a need for these open security frameworks, because you kind of having to provide a sort of a scalable cryptographic platform, so to say. So, I mean, there are these new things like SPIF and Spire and all of them that are kind of coming into play, in which HP has a very big play, not just by way of our products, but more from an advising perspective, as well as what we do with implementation of the same. So, yeah, so those would be my thoughts. But, with, like I said, the size of about 30,000 branches or more, SBI has implemented a centralized network access control. So, some of the things that they've done in terms of scale, there used to be, when I started working like 20, 30 years ago, you either gave a ANZ or a, Bank of America as references. But today, when we speak to some of the worldwide teams about the size of what we are encountering and experiencing with, with SBI, they kind of stand up and take notice. If you say, look, we recently did a benchmark for 2 billion customers, they think it's a joke. But we actually did an end of day, end of month, end of week, so on and so forth. And that is SBI planning ahead for 2025 and beyond. So, I mean, those are different in terms of context, scale, scalability, and all of that. So I think India is in a different place altogether. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right, Vikram. And I think that's a great note to end on because, I mean, with all the challenges we have as a country, I think what we've achieved, I mean, I was just talking to my friend Nandan Nilekani the other day. In fact, there's a conversation that we are actually screening on Saturday morning. And that's the point. I mean, take people like Nandan. I mean, the whole, what we call the JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobility. And
I was just going to mention that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And then, of course, UPI, the India stack, and now, of course, payment gateways and payment banks coming to the fore. I think this is one country which has shown that we have what it takes to really understand financial services and financial inclusion much better than many others. And given the announcements that we are seeing, I mean, for instance, Prime Minister Modi talking about in his Independence Day speech last year, the whole NOFIN or the National Optic Fiber Network. So imagine a situation where at least 260,000 gram panchayats, if not all 640,000 villages, are completely accessible through quantum and 5G and maybe 100 Mbps bandwidth. I mean, the applications that will come up for financial inclusion, skills inclusion, employment inclusion will be absolutely phenomenal. And I think the BFSI sector has a lot to pat yourself on the back because with RBI, SEBI, and all the financial institutions coming to the party, I think it's an absolute role model. So thank you very much, Amol. Thank you for doing what you do in State Bank. And thank you, Vikram, for giving us
so much, Ganesh.
space.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and
thanks, Amol.
Keep doing sessions like this so that we can all learn.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Amol.
Thank you very much. See you.
So what an incredible fireside chat. It was a big thank you to our panelists, our speakers for today. Thank you so much, Vikram. Thank you, Amol. And thank you so much, Dr. Ganesh, for moderating.